Hey guys, I'm gonna start the video by saying a very obvious statement and a very me statement, but food is amazing. I was not like feeling good at all this morning. Wasn't like I slept fine and everything, but wasn't feeling up to filming anything. Definitely not editing anything. I had some errands that need to be done, and I'm just like, not happening. And then I ordered some food. Feel like a human again, so very stressed today. I just have a lot of little stuff that has to get done before the baby comes, and I'm talking like a lot of little things, and they're all just time-consuming things, like stuff to do with insurance, like calling, and I have to figure out what kind of insurance my baby's getting on, if I can start that. I've started like the maternity leave process for when I do go into labor. That way I'm not doing like all the paperwork while I'm in the hospital. And then like some random things, like we just quit our cable contract. It ended and we weren't happy paying as much as we were for cable, and we switched over to YouTube TV, which I really like. I got the nursery, which was our guest bedroom, completely cleaned out except for stuff that's staying in there, so that this week I can take my time and start taping up the trim and stuff so that I can go in there this weekend and just paint the walls. I'll be safe about it. I'll have the window open. I'll be wearing a mask and everything like that, but I really love painting. And it's an easy room to paint. It's probably not going to take me very long at all once it's all taped off to do. So let's see, I have an appointment next week for the doctor, and then in 2 weeks after that. And normally during your third trimester, you go every 2 weeks. And once I hit that 32-week mark, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Once I hit that 32-week mark, they want me coming in every week because I've had some high blood pressure issues. My blood pressure's been fine lately, but I guess once I get closer to the due date, it could probably spike even more. So once I hit 32 weeks, they want me in every week to check, just in case I need to be induced. And that is less than 3 weeks from now. So like, I'm not expecting to be induced at 32 weeks at all, because like I said, my blood pressure's been fine. But it's crazy to think that in 3 weeks time, I could have like it could be baby time. I'm really, really excited, but I'm also like, I still have a lot of stuff to get done beforehand, so it's like it's stressing me out. So yeah, at any point between 32 weeks and obviously 40 weeks, he's gonna be here. I'm not gonna be showing him on my videos, just because he's a baby and I want to protect him, and he's not consenting to be on video, obviously, or on the internet. So I apologize if you guys are like excited to see him. You're not gonna see him, not for a while at least, until maybe he's a little bigger and he wants to, I don't know, I just don't see myself putting my child online. That's a personal choice, and yeah, I'll give you guys updates, and obviously, and maybe I'll do like a video of, I don't know, my birth story or something after he comes out, and tell you guys what happened and how everything went and how I'm doing, how he's doing, etc. But I'm not going to be like flashing him on my videos or anything like that. So I'm sorry for that long ranting beginning. So today's video is about the Keddie cabin murders, which I didn't learn about until a few years ago. But my God, like, this story really intrigued me, and it still does to this day. It's something that I, every once in a while, will check in on and see if there's any updates, or just rewatch all the old stuff about it. This is one also, sorry, I'm eating. This is what I'm going to give you my opinion on the end as well. So the Keddie murders is unsolved, and they occurred back in 1981. So they happened in Keddie, which is a rural resort town in the Sierra Nevada of Northern California. The victims were Glenna Susan, or Sue, as she was known, her son, John Stephen Sharp, her daughter, Tina Lynn, and John's friend, Dana Hall Wingate. The murders took place in cabin 28 of the Keddie Resort during the late evening of April 11th, 1981, or the early morning following. The timeline is not exact in that regard. Now, the bodies of Sue, John, and Dana were found the following morning on April 12th by Sue's 14-year-old daughter, Sheila. Now, Sue's two younger sons, Rick and Greg, as well as their friend Justin Smart, were also found in the cabin completely unharmed in one of their bedrooms. Tina was missing from the scene. Tina remained a missing person for 3 years until April 1984, when her skull and several other bones were found at Camp 18, California, near Feather Falls. Multiple leads and suspects were interviewed in the following years, but no charges have ever been filed on the case. Subsequent sheriffs in Plumas County would state that the initial investigation was disorganized and poorly conducted, resulting in the overlooking of crucial evidence. Now, several new leads have been announced in the 21st century, including the discovery of a hammer in a pond in 2016, as well as announcements regarding the discovery of new DNA evidence. Now, a really quick background on the family. In 1980, Sue Sharp, along with her 5 children, left their home in Connecticut after she separated from her husband. She decided to relocate to Northern California, where her brother Don was residing at the time. Upon arriving, she began renting cabin 28, where she would reside with her 15-year-old son John, 14-year-old daughter Sheila, 12-year-old daughter Tina, 10-year-old Rick, and 5-year-old Greg. On April 11th, 14-year-old Sheila had plans to spend the night with the Seabolt family, who lived in an adjacent cabin, while Sue remained at home with Rick, Greg, and the boys' friend, Justin. Sheila departed the home shortly after 8 p.m., and Tina, who had already been over at the Seabolts, returned home to the cabin around 9:30 p.m. after Sheila arrived at the Seabolts to spend the night. Around 7 a.m. the next morning of April 12th, Sheila returned home. She discovered the dead bodies of Sue, John, and Dana in the cabin's living room. All 3 had been bound with adhesive tape and wire. Tina was absent from the home, and the 3 younger boys, Rick, Greg, and Justin, were unharmed in an adjacent bedroom. Now, initial reports had stated that the boys slept through the incident, and this is where the case had always really gotten very interesting to me. This was later contradicted, and I'll go into that contradiction later, which really leads to one of the main suspects. Now, upon discovering this horrific scene, Sheila ran, crying, screaming, back over to the Seabolt home. James Seabolt went across the street to the cabin to retrieve the 3 young boys who were still there and got them out through the bedroom window so that they wouldn't see the horrific sight in the living room. Now, he did admit that when he was briefly entering the cabin through the back door to see if anyone was still alive there, he could have potentially contaminated the scene in the process. But in his defense, he didn't know exactly what to expect, and he was trying to save anyone he could who was still in the home alive. Now, the murders of Sue, John, and Dana were notably vicious. 2 bloodied knives and 1 hammer were found at the scene, and one of the knives, a steak knife that was later determined to have been used in the murders, had been bent in half due to the extreme force used in the killings. Blood splatter evidence from inside the house indicated that the murders all occurred in the living room. Sue was discovered lying on her side near the living room sofa, nude from the waist down, and had been gagged with a blue bandana and her own underwear, which had been secured over her mouth with tape. She had been stabbed in the chest. Her throat was slashed, and on the side of her head was an imprint matching the butt of a Daisy 880 BB gun. John's throat was slashed, and Dana had multiple head injuries and had been manually strangled. All 3 had blunt force trauma to their heads caused by a hammer or multiple hammers. Autopsies determined that they died from knife wounds and blunt force trauma. Now, across the street throughout the night, Sheila and the Seabolt family say that they heard no commotion. However, there was another couple in another cabin nearby that said that they were awoken around 1:30 in the morning by what sounded like muffled screaming, but they couldn't tell where it was coming from. Tina's jacket, shoes, and a shoebox containing various tools were missing from the cabin, which showed no indication of any forced entry. Suspects that were interviewed included a man who disappeared from Keddie shortly after the murders, and he was later found in Oregon. However, after admitting to a polygraph examination, he was cleared. Now, that doesn't really say much if you know anything about polygraph, especially in today's terms. Polygraph is not admissible in court. They are not known to be the most reliable things, especially if you're dealing with someone who maybe has a severe mental illness, maybe has some sort of sociopathy or other personality disorder. So it's interesting that that cleared this person, but I don't know much about this suspect, and honestly, I have another suspect in mind, and a lot of people do, who I will go on to next. One of the Sharps' neighbors, Marilyn Smart, who was the mother of Justin Smart, who was the friend that stayed in the home that night, later claimed she had found a jacket belonging to Tina in her basement and had turned the jacket into police, but there is no official record of this ever happening. Her husband, Martin Smart, also claimed that a claw hammer had gone missing from his home. Plymouth County Sheriff Doug Thomas, who presided over the case, later said that Martin Smart had provided endless clues in the case that seemed to throw suspicion away from him. In addition to interviewing the Smarts, the police interviewed numerous other locals and neighbors, including the Seabolt family. And many of these neighbors recalled seeing an unknown green van parked at the Sharps' cabin around 9 p.m. that evening of the murders. Others recalled noticing a brown Datsun parked at the residence that evening, which appeared to have a tire that was going flat. Now, back to the contradiction about the boys sleeping through the night. Justin, who was the friend that stayed over, who was one of the 3 boys left unharmed, gave conflicting stories that evening. One of which was that he dreamt of the murders, though he later claimed to have actually witnessed them. In his latter account of the events, which was told under hypnosis, and I believe this was due to sort of a post-traumatic regression of the memories. As an adult, Justin, I believe, claims to not really have any memories of it, but you can find, I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but there's an interview with adult Justin Smart. He no longer remembers anything that happened, but he does, I believe, remember that he saw something, or believe that he saw something. They used hypnosis to sort of relax him and get this information out of his subconscious state, but he claimed to have heard sounds coming from the living room while watching TV in the bedroom with the 2 other boys. Investigating these sounds, he saw Sue and 2 men, one with a mustache and long hair, the other clean-shaven with short hair. Both wore glasses. According to Justin, John and Dana entered the living room and began heatedly arguing with the men. There was a fight. Tina entered the room, and she was taken out of the cabin's back door by one of the men. Based on Justin's descriptions, there were sketches drawn of the suspects and released out in press releases with descriptions of the men. Any sort of ritualistic thing or drug-related motive was quickly cleared by the police, as there was no drug paraphernalia found in the home or in the bodies of the victims. And in December of 1983, detectives ruled out serial killers Henry Lee Lucas as well as Otis Toole as possible suspects. Now, Tina was originally seen as still alive and missing. Her disappearance was originally investigated by the FBI. However, they backed off as they said that the Department of Justice was doing an adequate job and made the FBI's presence unnecessary. A 5-mile radius around the cabin was searched and nothing was found. And on April 22nd of 1984, 3 years after the murders happened, a bottle collector discovered a portion of a human skull roughly 100 miles away from the Keddie cabin. Shortly after announcing the discovery, the sheriff's office received an anonymous call stating that these were the remains of Tina. The call was not documented in the case. However, a recording of the call was found at the bottom of an evidence box at some point after 2013 by a deputy who was assigned to the case. The remains were confirmed to be that of Tina in June of 1984. The cabin which the murders happened was demolished in 2004, And in a 2008 documentary on the murders, Marilyn Smart claimed that she suspected her husband Martin and his friend John Bo Beatty were responsible for the murders. Marilyn claimed that on the evening of the crimes, she had left Martin and Bo Beatty at a local bar around 11 p.m. and returned home to go to sleep. At around 2 a.m. the next morning, she awoke to find the two men burning an unknown item in the wood stove. Additionally, she had alleged that Martin hated Johnny Sharp with a passion. Also in that 2008 documentary, Sheriff Doug Thomas claims that he did interview Martin via a polygraph examination and that he passed it, which again is controversial on its own. Martin died of cancer in June of 2000, and John Bo Beatty died in 1988. On March 24th of 2016, a hammer matching the description of Martin Smart's that he claimed to have lost was discovered in a local pond. Plumas County Sheriff Hagwood, who was 16 years old at the time of the murders, states that the location of the hammer in the pond looks to be a very deliberate place to leave it, as it would not be a place that a hammer would accidentally end up. Another piece of evidence that to me really ties Martin Smart to the murders was a letter that he wrote to Marilyn shortly after. He had left Keddie not long after the murders and went to Reno, Nevada. From there, he sent a letter to Marilyn talking about personal struggles in their marriage, which he concluded with, and I quote, "I've paid the price of your love, and now I've bought it with 4 people's lives." In a 2016 interview, Gamberg stated that the letter was overlooked in the initial investigation and never admitted as evidence. A counselor whom Martin regularly visited would also allege that he admitted to the murders, and that is the murders of Sue and Tina, but claimed, "I didn't have anything to do with the boys." He allegedly told the counselor that Tina was killed to prevent her from identifying him, as she had witnessed the whole thing. I believe that would be to mean that Bo Beatty probably killed the boys. There are some very interesting interviews, as I stated earlier, of Justin Smart as well as Marilyn Smart that you can find on YouTube. I mean, especially Marilyn really points to her ex-husband. I guess they got divorced, or late husband if they didn't, and Justin talking about the hypnosis and the fact that he can't really remember anything anymore. But I find it really interesting, especially that in the initial investigation and the initial questioning of the boys, that Justin stated that he either dreamt of what happened or that he witnessed what happened, and that he was able to tell a very plausible story of the boys walking in on a fight with the mother, getting involved, getting killed because of, their involvement, basically, them defending her, and Tina walking in and witnessing it. It all makes sense to me. It also lines up with what the counselor's claiming Martin told him, and therefore, I believe, personally, that's what happened. It's worth checking out some more videos of it if you guys find this interesting. BuzzFeed Unsolved also did a video on the Keddie murders, which I was very excited about because they went to the actual location where the cabin had been torn down. And I really enjoy seeing stuff like that, even if there's nothing there anymore. It's just really interesting to see exactly where something happened. They also got a really eerie feeling from everyone in the town, major small town vibes, in that everybody was watching them and everybody sort of seemed like they knew something, which was just interesting. Maybe they were just sick of tourists or people coming to check out the cabin, but it was really interesting nonetheless. So I highly recommend that if you guys have not seen it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a case, like I said, that has always stuck out to me, been very interesting, and hopefully I'll send you guys on a deep dive through it. And I'm going to try and get some videos done in the meantime, so I'm not recording the day of and editing the day of and all that mess, because that's just stress I don't need right now. But if I do miss a video or two, in the next 2 months, forgive me. I'm going through a lot. I'm kind of having a baby, so And I'm going to do my best because I really want this channel to be consistent. Even if it's just me uploading a 1 or 2 minute video to let you guys know, hey, I'm still alive, I'm still here, still kicking, I will do that. But I want to give you guys content, quality content. So I'll do my best there. If you guys like this video, please hit the thumbs up button below. If you have any suggestions for videos, true crime or otherwise, please leave those in the comments below. If you guys want to see more, please hit the subscribe button. I upload new videos every Wednesday. And other than that, I will see you guys next week. Bye.